Haven't talked for we haven't spoken to Stacy in 4 years, and she enlightened us on how to position ourselves as the authority, the professional, so that we get referrals on autopilot. How do we focus on customer experience so people reach out to us instead of us keeping and having to ask for referrals? It becomes very uncomfortable for a lot of us. So today she's going to have an update, and she has a new book to promote to us as well. So without further ado, Stacy Randall, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and answer questions and how I can help you guys understand how to build a referable client experience. It's definitely one piece to the pie when it comes to being able to generate more referrals. So, thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, I'll get right to it because we have some sample interview questions that you sent, and I think
Yeah.
it'll help our audience. Okay. So define actually, for people who don't know you, maybe just introduce to us like yourself, and how you become the authority for client experience and receiving referrals, endless referrals without asking for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so and I think that's actually a great place to start is kind of listen, in the real estate world, you guys are taught and there's many people teaching referrals, and you guys are taught some specific ways to go about generating referrals. And that means for a lot of you, there's a lot of noise when it comes to understanding how referrals work. The big way that I think real estate agents are typically taught to generate referrals is that you need to ask for them. You need to always be asking, constantly asking, asking everybody. I'm asking everybody you know, every client after every transaction. And so the reality of it is that there are some people, they're like unicorns, that have no problem asking people to refer business to them, to refer new clients to them. But the majority of us don't actually enjoy that. Right. And so, what people don't understand is that there's actually science behind why it makes you uncomfortable asking people to refer more clients to you. And when you understand the science behind how referrals work, then it makes sense why you have to treat referrals differently and why the asking or being promotional and gimmicky or feeling like you've got to network all the time to always be seen so you're never forgotten, why those things don't have to be true. And so I have spent the last almost 13 years working with business owners to really help them understand that you can leverage the science behind referrals and be able to generate them without asking for them. And that is what definitely makes me a contrarian in the space of referrals and definitely makes me very different from most is really understanding the science behind referrals and then understanding that referrals live in an ecosystem within your real estate business. They live in an ecosystem. It's not like referrals are a nail and the only tool you need is a hammer. You need a fully stocked toolbox from a referral perspective. So when I work with my clients, we're not just like, hey, how do we just get referrals? It's like, who are the groups of people who should be referring to us, right? And then how do we develop relationships with those folks? And how do we handle it when a referral arrives? And what do we do when problems come up? And how do we handle in the prospect? What do we do in the client experience? Like there's so many places that you can arm yourself with having referral processes and stuff in place that I think people overlook it, thinking that it's, oh, I'm just supposed to ask. And if I don't want to ask, then I guess I don't get any referrals. And it's that nothing could be further from the truth.
Amazing, amazing. So really, right now, your new book is right behind you.
Yeah.
It's the Referable Client Experience. So define to us client experience versus customer experience. Why is it more than customer service and client experience? Why is it
Yeah.
more than just customer service?
Yeah, so most of the time when I talk to folks and I'm like, "Hey, what tell me about your client experience?" They actually answer the question with the way they solve problems. Oh, so when a client has a question, this is how we solve it. Or here's the FAQ we send out, or here's the videos that we have to solve their problems, how we answer questions. And that customer service is an important piece. Like it's a piece you should have. You should know how to follow up with clients when they have questions, but it is just a small piece of the overall client experience. Client experience is defined as how a client feels when they are working with you, which means it's so much more than just the work you do, but also the relationship you build with them. And those feelings are driven by so much more than just if I had a problem, John answered the question, right? It's a piece of it, but there's a whole totality behind that client experience.
Wow. Okay, so it's way deeper than that. Then let's have you break down the client experience into three stages, but not all businesses have all three. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So for real estate agents, you guys have all three. Not all businesses do. So I'll talk about the difference. And listen, there's a lot of different ways you could break down and look at your client experience. We break it down in these three kind of like phases because it's easier for you to. I just feel like for business owners, we have so much coming at us. It's easier for us if we can just be like, okay, we got these three stages, right? These three phases that are actually happening. So the first one is the new stage. Every client that says yes to working with you. So the minute a client says yes to working with you, that's when your client experience starts. Anything prior to that is the buyer's journey. It's when they're deciding if they're going to work with you. Right? There are some people who will say the buyer's journey is a part of the client experience, and I teach it where they're very distinct because there's different things happening and there's different decision mechanisms being made. And so we look at the client experience. It starts from the minute they say yes to working with you, and then they enter the new stage. And there you get to determine how long somebody is in your new stage. And every business is a little different. So once they exit the new stage, they move into what we call the active stage. The active stage is where the majority of the work that you do with your clients exists. Right. So if you are meeting them at a lot of open houses and are meeting them and taking them to a lot of houses to see, and that's happening for weeks on end, right? If you're listing their house and it doesn't go very fast, so it takes a little bit longer, right? Most of the work you're doing happens in the active phase. And then when the active phase is done, that's usually it means the engagement is done with your client. So it could be at the closing table, or maybe you have a little bit more that you do after the closing table. But post that, once you're done working with the client, they move into the third stage, which is the alumni stage. And we specifically encourage our clients to use the terminology alumni and not past or previous client. We just think it forces us to think about our clients differently, like an alumni client that we want to stay connected with versus a past client we haven't talked to in 4 years, right? And so, real estate agents, when the deal is done, right, the transaction is done, they will move into the alumni stage. A business that doesn't have all three stages is like a financial advisor or a CPA because they want to work with you every single year. A CPA wants to do your taxes every single year. A financial advisor wants to manage your assets every single year. And so they will go from the new stage to the active stage. And then once the active stage is kind of done and they're like starting the second year, they kind of move into what we call ongoing. So it's like they move from new, active to ongoing. But agents are going to go new, active, alumni. So those are the three stages.
New, active, and alumni. Wow. Okay. That's deep. That's deep. Okay. All right. So let me just go to the next question here. All right. So, what do you mean by client experience formula?
So here's the thing. If I were to ask everybody, and I don't have everyone's camera on, so we can't actually do this. So that's totally fine. But if I was able to see everybody, I would ask everyone to raise their hand if they felt like they do good work. If they feel like you do great work, right? Like if everybody like just pretend I can see you all, right? And I'm assuming everybody would raise their hand. Right. I'm not thinking anyone sitting here going, no, I actually do terrible work and I'm proud of it. Right. Most people are like, yes, I do great work. And then if I would ask you the question, great, so you do great work. You believe you do great work, not perfect work. No one's perfect, but you do great work for your clients and they find you valuable. If the next question I asked you was, and are you drowning in referrals? Every single hand almost would come down. And that is because we have been taught a false belief, which is if you do great work, then the referrals will follow. And that is not true. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. Referrals don't live within just doing great work. Referrals in your client experience live with you doing great work, but that is paired with or partnered with building a relationship. So the formula behind your client experience is not, yes, it is the work you do. We call them work touch points, right? So the work you do plus the relationship touch points you do that are building relationships. And that doesn't mean you're taking your clients to coffee all the time. It means seeing your client for where they are and what they are emotionally feeling while they are going through your new active and alumni stages. And so it's really about knowing where they are, and all your clients have some of the same similar feelings, right? I mean, the home buying, home selling process, it doesn't really matter how big, how little the house is. It like the emotional piece is a lot similar for all clients. And so if you think about meeting them where they are and leaning into that, it's showing up differently. It's showing up like you care, like not just delivering great work, but also building relationships. So the
Mm.
formula is a referable client experience is going to be the work you do plus the relationships you build. But even that is going to that's going to make your client experience referable if you have the work touch points and the relationship touch points. But even that's not going to bridge the gap to referrals. There are different things we have to do to then actually have a referable client experience and now bridge the gap to receiving referrals.
Wow. Okay, so guys, it's not just good doing good work. I always say this, if you do good work, you're going to get referrals. But there's another step to that is building that relationship. So what are some of the must-haves of a referable client experience?
Yeah, so there's so many, but let's keep it simple for most folks. I think one of the things people have to recognize, let's look at them by each of the three stages because this is action oriented that you guys can start doing, right? So if I were to talk about the must haves with each of the three stages, let's look at the new client stage. So the one thing I make my clients do is understanding what is the quiet voice your client is feeling, but they are not saying to you when they've entered or they are part of each stage. In the new client stage, right, the quiet voice that is happening is all the concern and anticipation. It's a positive and a negative. It's got a mix of buyer's remorse in there. Like, did we hire the right person? Is this going to work out to us? Right? What is this going to look like? I don't know. How does the market shifting on a dime? Right? They're feeling and thinking all these things. Right. And you know they are because if you've been in business long enough, you've worked with a handful of clients, some clients will tell you what they're thinking and feeling. And you kind of know that that's what your clients are feeling. So when you bring a new client in and you're delivering all the work, you're signing the contracts, right? You're making sure that everything is the pictures are being taken or you're setting them up like to be able to look at listings on the MLS, however you're doing it, when they're in that new client stage, the simple must have that you can do that speaks to the client voice is acknowledge what they're feeling. Most people, when they're trying to do a relationship touch point during the new stages, they'll send a card that's basically like, we're so excited to work with you. We can't wait to get started. What people don't realize is that card is actually all about you. It's all about thanks for being my client. I'm so excited that I will probably make money. Like, we don't mean it like that. Right. But that is kind of what it sounds like. So I tell my clients, I'm like, no, we don't want to write a welcome card. We want to write a journey card. And a journey card is going to speak to their quiet voice for exactly what they're feeling during this new client stage. We're going to own it. We're not going to be like act like it doesn't exist. And our clients will feel seen. And that will deepen and develop the relationship that we're building with them. So, for example, when I started one of my businesses, I was a productivity coach. Okay, well, let's be honest. When you hire a productivity coach, they're going to make you do things different if you want to get your money's worth. Right? They're going to make you maybe learn to time block or actually clean out your inbox or get around the mindset that you have about that you can or can't do something. And the minute you hire a productivity coach, the first thing you will think is, oh my gosh, do I really want to do all this work? Like, she's going to make me change. It's going to be hard. I got to overcome some default habits I've been doing for decades. You may also anticipate the who you're going to become once you put everything in place. But in the moment, you're kind of like, oh, here comes some work. This is probably not going to be great. So I would always write my clients a journey card that called that out. Be like, hey, I am excited to work with you. Right? This journey, though, is probably going to challenge and stretch you. There's probably going to be some things you don't see coming. That's okay. That means you're normal. But just remember, you're not alone on this journey. I'm your co pilot, and I know exactly what I'm doing. So I
Amazing.
would speak to their feelings of like the quiet voice in the new stages. Did I make a good decision? Did I put my money to the right person? Is this going to work out the way I want it to? And I'm also so excited. And I speak to that in my journey card. It's so much more than a I'm so glad you're my client type welcome card. It doesn't cost you any more money. I mean, maybe you have to buy stationery if you're not doing that already, but it's a simple way to show up differently to your clients and make them be like, "Oh, Stacy sees me. John sees me." Like, and it endears your clients to you in a way delivering a lovely listing agreement will never do.
So let me ask you this though. How do I have to ask straight up, like, what are you going through right now? What are you feeling right now? And then write that journey card? Because we can't read minds, right? So do you come out and straight and just ask for it? Because I remember first going out with my girlfriend, now my wife. I would always ask her, "How am I doing lately?" Out of a scale of 1 to 10, and she'd be like, "Are you serious right now?" But what would you
Yeah.
do to get that out in the air?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't recommend that you ask unless
Okay.
you have zero idea. The very first time I brought a client on as a productivity coach, I didn't know that they were worried about all the work they'd have to do. Right. I didn't know that there was a concern that they weren't like skipping into the meetings with me, like, change me, Stacy. I can't wait to get started. It took time for me to realize, oh, they're excited and they're also dreading it all at the same time because it's just coming out in the questions and the conversations we would have, right?
Mm,
And so that's really important that you understand that. So the longer, and I would say this, and this is across the board for most of the agents I work with, you kind of know what your clients are feeling, right? If they're, and you kind of know based on what they're feeling, terms of like what the market looks like for them. If you're like, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, nobody should ever be worried about putting a house on the market. We don't have enough houses on the market. You should be more worried if you're a buyer because it's hard to get a house sometimes, right? So the card that I write to a buyer may look a little bit different than I write to a client that I'm listing a home with. But that's all specific to where I am. It'll look different for where you are. But there is the way, if you have zero idea how your client's feeling when they first say yes to working with you, I would ask the question. Be like, hey, I'm so excited. We have said yes and we're moving forward. I would love to know, like, what are your thoughts right now? Do you have concerns? Do you have things I need to worry about? But I truly believe the longer you've been in business, you kind of know because you've heard things over time that you can speak to that. And sometimes you can speak to things that they don't even know should be a concern until you bring it up and they're like, I'm so glad that was addressed before I even thought about it.
that's
Right.
awesome.
So it's really just understanding, like, what would it be like for you to say yes to an agent to sell your house or to buy a house? Like, what would you feel if you weren't an agent? How would you feel? What would you be concerned about and excited about? Because it's both things.
Got you. So you really have to be listening through your interview process in the new stage of client acquisition, really listening, and then writing that journey card would be you kind of acknowledging what the experience was already when you're acquiring that client. All right. So what are some of the pitfalls, common pitfalls to avoid in creating that client experience that's referable?
Yeah, so let's talk about that from the active client stage because this is a big one and this is one that people fall into a lot. And it has a lot to do with how long your client is in the active stage. So in the active stage, remember, we're done being new, right? Now we're in the active stage, and that could be a long time or a short time. Everything's a little bit different, right? And sometimes I work with clients and their active stage is carbon copy identical for every client. That is not your reality as a real estate agent. That's not how it looks, right? And so it's going to be a little bit different based on the client. But if you ever go into a mode where you're behind the scenes doing stuff and your client isn't participating in the behind the scenes stuff that you're doing, you've entered what we call the waiting game, where there's all this anticipation, all this excitement. Now we're a new client. Now we're getting started. And now we've moved into what we call the waiting game. And so, one of the pitfalls that people forget to do in the active stage is actually reach out to connect with their clients. And this is more than the I'm going to send you an email every Friday and tell you that there's nothing to tell you. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about like reaching out and being like, hey, we know you're sitting and waiting. Like, we get it. Again, acknowledge it, right? Maybe you do this in a video. Maybe you send this in a card, right? It can be a little, like, you don't have to do the exact same thing over and over again, but it's just acknowledging it. Like, hey, we have entered this phase. This is normal. Like, this is kind of where we are. And we know that we're over here doing all this work. You're not seeing it, right? And if you ever have any questions, we're here. It's just so much more than acknowledging like the stage they've entered and understanding what that's having them feel in the active stage, particularly if things aren't going according to plan. And that's really important too. And you think about this from that perspective of understanding like what the waiting game looks like for your clients. If they're trying to sell their house and it's becoming really, really stressful, right? And you're like, okay, they're now in the waiting game, right? You may do this for every client, but to that client, it's going to feel like specific to them in the moment. Maybe you send them, hey, it's a lot. I know, right? You're trying to keep your house perfectly clean. You've got three toddlers running around under the age of 5. You're probably going to pull your hair out. You're going insane. And the 14 dogs that you decided you needed are not helping you keep that house clean, right? Like, why don't you take dinner out on us? Take a break, take a breather,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Something simple that acknowledges that you see where they are. And so,
amazing.
what I want people to build though is something that is repeatable. I want all your clients to get a very close and similar journey card. I don't want you trying to recreate one for every new client, right? You know that they're feeling certain things, and that's what we're going to acknowledge in the card. Not everything, but some of the things. You know your clients are going to hit a waiting game or there's going to be a snag in the process. I want you to know when that happens, here's what we lean into, right? We send a gift card or whatever, right? We send them out to dinner, we send a video, we acknowledging the holdup or what it looks like. You know how to respond. And then if you have automations in place, the automations can tell you, hey, it's time to do this.
I love that. So what I'm hearing so far is the new and the active stage is all about acknowledgement, but specifically acknowledging what your clients are thinking and feeling. Feeling is the most important thing in this whole thing.
Right.
Again, we are not thinking beings that feel, we are feeling beings that think. Okay, guys? So, all right. So, next question. When did it first hit you that client experience matters differently than you assumed?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like most things in life, things have to hit me over the head. Like I don't wake up and be like, oh my gosh, look, today I'm going to be brilliant in this topic. So, a little bit of my backstory is I started a business. I ran that business. It was a human resource consulting firm. I ran that business for just over 4 years before it ultimately failed. And I had to shut it down. I had to wave the white flag of surrender and I had to go back to corporate America, which is really, really hard once you've been a business owner, right? And you've tasted a little bit of freedom. But I had to go back to corporate America. While I was there, that's when I got certified as a productivity coach. That's where the productivity coaching comes from. And I was back in corporate about, I don't know, 14, 15 months before I left to start my second business, which is this business, but I don't obviously do any productivity coaching anymore. And that was almost 13 years ago. When I left to start my productivity coaching practice, the number one fear factor in my world was I'm already a member of the Business Failure Club. I do not need to be a two-time member. That's really not necessary for my life. So we're going to do things different. And the first 3 clients I got because I was networking and I was talking about my new business and I got lucky. I really do feel like I got lucky. Those people needed what I was starting to do. And let's be honest, my hourly rate was like stupid cheap at that time because I was brand new in business. And so I landed my first 3 clients. My fourth client was referred to me by one of those first 3 clients. And it wasn't because I was doing any of my strategies, because at that point I hadn't developed any of them. I would go on to develop them throughout my first year when I would get 112 referrals in that first year as a productivity coach without asking. But with that fourth client being referred to me, I made a random decision to just send her the journey card. There was something in our buyer's journey conversations that I was like, I just want to make sure she feels really confident that she's made the right choice to invest money in me. And I just sent her a journey card. And it was literally like what I told you was like, this is going to challenge you and stretch you. That's okay. I'm the co-pilot. I got you. You're in good hands. And I mailed it to her. And back then I would go to my clients' offices to meet with them for my coaching. On her very first session, I walk into her office. It's like a couple of weeks after I've sent the journey card. I walk into her office, and out of the corner of my eye on her bulletin board, I see my journey card. And I look at it, and she notices me looking at it, and she says, I've never had anyone send me a card like that before when we started working together. And I was like, note to self, probably should make this repeatable and probably should do this for all my clients. And it was at that moment I started paying attention to the client experience being just as valuable when it comes to generating referrals as it is for some of my other strategies that I use to generate referrals.
Mm, wow. Okay, so guys, thank you card is all about you. Thank you for your business. I made money from you. Or thank you for allowing me to sell your house. I'm going to do a great job. I don't care what you feel or think. But the journey card is acknowledging what they feel and think. All right, so what is the one thing that businesses get wrong when trying to improve their client experience?
Okay. So the number one thing that I see businesses do is that they try to find the bright, shiny, fun thing, like the wow factor. Oh, we're going to do this amazing gift, or we're going to do this amazing thing to like make our client experience better. And at the end of the day, what we really need is to be fixing some foundational things that are not working well in your business. So here's a great example from a story perspective. So there's a gym that my husband and I belong to. And one day he and I were walking into the gym and there was a huge sign up that it was like $60,000 in brand new equipment. Like they were all proud of the fact they had made this investment in the gym to put like, $60,000 worth of new equipment in the gym. And I see the sign, I see the banner up, and I smirk and I look at my husband and I'm like, that's great. But wouldn't it be better if they could just make it so that the water is cold out of the water fountain versus lukewarm? They knew that was a problem. They chose not to solve it and fix it. They chose to put 60,000 worth of new equipment in. And so it's missing the foundational pieces before you try to leverage up the actual referability part of your client experience. It's a get the foundational pieces in place. Make sure you understand the quiet voice through each of the three stages. Make sure you have processes in place and SOPs in place for the new, active, and even the alumni stage, even though there's no work being done. Make sure you have that stuff documented. Make sure you understand how that's supposed to work, and then layer on your relationship touch points, and then layer on top of that other things you can do to generate referrals. Don't just go for the, oh, just tell me what to say so my clients will refer me, because they won't if other things aren't working the way they're supposed to.
Mm. What one word that comes to mind is like really care. I think caring can make you listen, and really caring and be curious about your clients can really have you tap into that, creating that client experience for your clients. So
Yeah,
that's what came up for me.
and you can care and still show care in a repeatable process.
There you go.
Like
I
it
love that.
it doesn't have to be like every client's got to be treated differently and I got to be doing 14 different things for them. No, nobody has time for that.
No.
You can show care. You can show the emotions and you can evoke the emotions from your clients that you want through a repeatable process. It just takes a little bit of time for you to sit down and figure out what are the things you're going to do that you're going to add to your client experience that's going to make it better.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, how do businesses bridge the gap between a referable client experience and referrals?
Yes. So, okay. This is probably the part everyone's like, this is what we really want to know. But none of it matters unless you have everything else we were just talking about. So, where referrals live in your client experiences is in three areas. One is the right people, two are your referral hot zones, and three are the right referral moments. Sometimes you have clients who come on board and they are just the right people. You cannot identify them. They do not self identify themselves, but they hire you and then they start referring you and they start telling people about you. They are like little fabulous gifts from God, right? Like they're wonderful. We love those clients, but not all clients are like that. I cannot teach you a strategy to identify those people. I can tell you if you have some of the relationship touch points in place, those folks will reveal themselves sometimes a little bit faster. But
Mhm.
sometimes you will have people who just, when they hire somebody, everybody's got to know. But they are unicorns and you can't replicate them just because you want to. So, right people, important. We know that, but we can't build a strategy around it. What we can build a strategy around are the other two, which are the referral hot zones and the right referral moments. So, in your business, if you get referrals a little bit more than sporadic, right? So if you're getting some referrals on an ongoing basis, there's a very good chance there's a pattern to them. And the pattern exists that your clients, at a couple of points during your client experience, are referring people to you. So the way to do this is you go back and you look at the clients who have referred you. Okay, so like, okay, these are my five clients and they've referred me these clients. Where was your client in their client experience at the moment they referred you that new potential client? Were they in the alumni phase and it was all the work was done? Or were they brand new? Had they just moved into the active stage? Where was it? What had just happened to where this is what you delivered on for their client experience and then they referred you? Now, for some of you, that'll be very sporadic and there won't be a pattern. But for some of you, there will be a pattern and we call those referral hot zones. And when we have them, we lean into those moments, usually making sure we do a relationship touch point and also making sure that we're planting some referral seed language, which is obviously what I do with my clients. A little bit of my secret sauce is the language that we use so that we don't ever have to ask for referrals. So let me give you an example so you can like kind of visualize this in your mind's eye. So if you have a client, so this isn't a referral hot zone specifically, but this is a referral seed you can use regardless, as long as it meets like the measurements here. If you have a client that was referred to you, throughout their client experience, you need to be reminding them that they were referred to you. Maybe you make a note on their folder, maybe you make a note on the CRM, maybe it pings you every time their name ends up on your calendar or whatever, right? If it's you have a team, your team needs to know it as well. But every time, not every single time, that would be weird, but a couple of times throughout the client experience, you need to let that client know, like, hey, Andrea, I'm so glad that we had this chance to work together. And I'm so thrilled that it all happened because John referred you to me. Right? It's just that is a referral seed. That's part of like the language that I teach my clients. There's a lot of different ways we look at the formula and the different pieces of the language, but that's an easy one. Any of you guys can use that one, right? If someone's been referred, remind them. So let me explain to you how this sounds at different stages in the client experience. In the new stage, it sounds like this. Hey, Andrea, I'm so glad that John referred you to me. So we have this opportunity to work together. This is going to be great. In the active stage, oh, we have just overcome a major milestone in this process, and none of it would have been possible without John referring you to me. Right? At the alumni stage, I am so thrilled that this process is over now for you and that you have the outcome you were looking for. I've got to make sure I go thank John for referring you to me.
Well,
right? 3 different ways. I mean, you can use a variety of all of those, right? 3 different ways to say the same thing, but it doesn't sound like I said the same thing because I said it based on where they were. And I just switched up my language a little bit. So when you have referral hot zones, we use pieces of language like that, and we lean into the relationship touch points to be able to plant referral seeds. And of course, the other one is right moments. And that's really what that referral seed goes to is like sometimes it's just the right referral moment. You're talking to a client who was referred. You haven't reminded them in a while they've been referred. You need to know the language to say. It's like any other memorization of script you do, right? You just need to know what you need to say in that moment and make sure you say it. But those right referral moments, I mean, there's a lot of them, right? It's not just if someone was referred. Not every client is, right? But it's understanding sometimes you have those moments where you can plant referral seeds. Sometimes you have hot zones where you need to be planting a referral seed, right? And sometimes it's just the right people, and you want to make sure you're taking care of them on top of their client experience with a referral experience because they've referred you.
That's amazing. I'm getting so much out of this. What we talked about today, is that in your book behind you?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, guys, go buy the book. Just go buy the book. And now we will transition this interview into Q&A. Let's open it up. So, guys, from here, what questions do you have for Stacy? Please. Go ahead. Frank?
Thank you very much, Stacy, for sharing your wonderful experience with us today. And really touched me, and I think it's like music to my ear. Some of the principles you mentioned about, in fact, for us as a realtor, we should utilize every day. I remember 1 year ago when I joined John for the team, and one question is asked whether you're a good product, and I'm very confident say yes. But the next thing is, okay, here you have to do so many cold calls, and that's kind of scary. Even though I'm not a newbie in the industry, but I know I'm a good product. But how can I just go out telling everybody how good I am, right? Nobody will trust me. And really, I'm very grateful that in Vancouver right now it's a buyer's market, and there's no buyers. You will be shocked, like, how slow the market is. But how do you find buyers? And just the last 6 months, and magic happened. I picked one client, I call her M, and then what I did is pretty simple. Every weekend, while she works during the weekdays, so I just said, okay, here's the list of open houses, and then you go to take a look at it. And then later on, I found something magic happened. Because when she go to see these open houses, she met some of the people walk through the open houses at the same time, and they start to talk about it, real estate. And then some of them ask her, "Who's your realtor?" And then they start to connect, and then boom, suddenly I got people calling me, said, hey, I'm strongly recommend you. You are a great realtor, and I'm going to buy a property. Can you help me? So I realized that, wow, this is a good referral system through my clients. Even though today she still haven't purchased the unit with me, but the last 6 months she connect me like 4 or 5 buyers prospects, and yesterday I just turned one buyer prospect into a client. We had to
Yeah,
accept the
so
offer.
I mean, I think from that example, you're talking about the right person, right? You just had a
Yeah.
client who
Mhm.
is one of those people who decided to hire you and started working with you and then had to tell everybody, right? And I think those are awesome. The problem is it's really hard to build a strategy around that, around those people. You may never like it, I'll say never. You never say never, right? But it may be months before you have another client like that that shows up. So a couple of things that come up for me when you're saying that is one, I want to make sure that once she's now referred you, right, there is another process that she should be dropping into in your business. And this is actually what I tackle in my first book, which is the people who already refer you or are referring you. How do you take care of them to get more referrals from them? Right. So
Yeah.
that's a different category of folks. Like, so now she's referring you. She's a client, but she's referring you. She needs to be dropping into a different plan where she gets different outreach because she's referred you. And then also, of course, we're going to have the client experience, the referable client experience you're running. And I think that's a big miss people have in their businesses is the number one thing I tell my clients when they ask me about, hey, I just need more referrals. I'm like, well, who are we trying to get them from? Because there's a few key groups you need to be focused on, but we execute different strategies or different plans for each of those three. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so actually, you mentioned about how to the alumni, that end client client. Actually, now I have weekly meetings, with her after her go through the open houses. We discuss about the properties, but also discuss about the experience she had, and she mentioned, oh, who is buying, who, what kind of clients is looking for, what kind of products. So I just feel, this is exactly what you try to teach us, is to build up the, your client become like a partnership, and for long term, stay for long term. Today she hasn't purchased yet. She's helping you to build your referral network. But after she purchased, she will say different things to her people around her. So I just feel the referral is very powerful. I just always want to say thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
All right. Who else? Thank you, Frank, for that for that question and share. Who else on Zoom and here? Any questions? What questions do you have about the client experience and how do you get referred without asking? Go ahead. Dunphy, you want to say
Hey,
something? Go
yeah.
ahead.
Hey, thanks so much for your sharing. And I just have a quick question when it comes to experiences that I've had in the past where the client or the person I'm working with feels like there needs to be some incentive for her to
Mm.
refer. And then oftentimes it becomes like, does she get like a cut from the commission that I potentially make? How do you handle those situations?
Yeah, so okay, two things. Let me address two things. So in your world as real estate agents, when I talk about not incentivizing people to refer you, I know there's a realtor to realtor compensation model that is like above board and the contracts are signed and everybody kind of knows that it's happening, right? I'm assuming your question is about someone who isn't a realtor that wants to be incentivized for referring to
Yeah,
you. Do I have that
that's
right?
right.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. Those folks are more like unicorns. Most folks don't refer to people because they're looking for a cut of the business. Some people do it specifically because that's what they want. And I always tell my clients, you have to make a choice. You get to decide if the referrals she sends to you are good enough and it's worth to you making a cut and that's above board and and it's all like the clients know that that's happening, and that's something you choose to do, that's your choice. I always tell my clients that the person who's asking to receive a cut of what they've just referred to me, of the client they just referred to me, they have to be the one to tell the client that, hey, I'm going to refer you to Denby. I think awesome, he's great, but just so you know, I'm also going to make 10%. And that usually shuts people down from
Hmm.
actually wanting to be compensated. Because now what they realized is as the client, if I'm the friend and I'm like, wait, you're referring me to Nebby and you're going to get 10%, the very first thing I'm looking,
Oh.
is he actually any good? Like it actually calls you into question because they're getting
Mm,
compensated and it just commoditized the entire relationship. So I have some clients that'll just be like, I tell folks, if you don't want to compensate, you just need to say, that's not how I run my business. Like it's important that I receive referrals, of course. I will definitely make sure that you know that I never take you for granted, but I don't do a cut of the commission. I don't do a compensation split like that because the client has to be told when they're being referred that that's happening. And sometimes that makes the client uncomfortable. Yeah.
mm,
Love it.
that's
Love
Here's the
beautiful.
it.
Yeah.
thing. This is what I always say to folks. You're a grown up and you get to decide what you're ultimately going to do. But I always look at things from the perspective of it's not about you and it's not about this person who wants to get paid. It is about the client they're potentially referring to you and how they're going to feel, how they're going to respond, and what that means. And I think that kind of sometimes leads you to make decisions about your business. And I know affiliate marketing is like all the rage right now. Like, hey, if you click on this link, it's an affiliate link, I'll make money. But even that's disclosed up front. I know when I click on the link, the person's going to make money. I find when people are asking to get paid, they want it to be under the table. They
Mm,
don't want the other person to know. And so
Hmm.
it's okay to call them on that and to be like, that's not how I operate.
Boom. I love
yeah,
it.
that makes sense. Great. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, one last question. Going once, twice. Anybody on Zoom wants to put in a question in the chat box, that's okay too. All right. Well, if not, what's one insight that you can? Faye, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Stacy. I have a question regarding your book and material in it. That are you writing that what notes we have to write to the clients or details about it or how is it? Because I would like to know about it.
Oh, you're talking about my book?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, the book is called, I put it in the chat for anybody who was asking. So, the book is called The Referable Client Experience. It's going to break down a lot of what we talked about today. It's going to break down the three client stages. It's going to give you some best practices within each stage. It's going to talk about the pitfall to avoid in each stage. And then the final couple of chapters are going to talk about how you bridge the gap to referrals. And so, some of that language that we talked about is in there, and also some others that we haven't talked about as well. It's not let me just be really clear though. It's like a $17 book, right? It is not everything that you probably need to know inside your referable client experience, but it is an excellent place to start. And just putting those things in place will help you move forward building out that referable client experience and get started, which is really important. And sometimes it's just the baseline. So, yes, there is some language in there, not all the language. I don't remember, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember if the journey card language is in the book, but there is a secret link. So, once you buy the book, please don't share the link unless you've bought the book. But once you've bought the book, there's a secret link and there's a QR code you can scan inside the book, and you can get access to more resources. And so, some of the things I talk about in the book but don't have space to expand upon are in there. And I think there's more language in the secret resources as well. So once you buy the book, you get the secret resources, and that'll give you more information.
So, guys, get both books. The first book is getting referrals without asking. But what's the official title, Stacy?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the chat too. It's generating business referrals without asking.
Generating business referrals without asking, and the referable client experience. Guys, go get those two books. Absolute game changers. And I know most of us don't want to ask for referrals. I tell them to ask for referrals all the time. And you know what? 80% probably don't. And that's okay. That's why I brought Stacy here for you guys
That's
today.
right here.
All right, good. So, Stacy, one last insight for the audience here to have us get more referrals.
Here's the thing I want you to understand about referrals. You deserve them. There's no question in my mind whether you're new starting out or you've been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years. We all deserve referrals, but we're not owed them. So we have to be willing to do the work to be able to receive them. And you get to choose how you want to do the work to generate those referrals. You can ask for them if that works for you. And if it doesn't, then I would say start listening to my podcast, read my books, and start putting in some processes in place that'll help you generate referrals without having to ask. Because while you do deserve them, you are not owed them. And so it's usually time for us to get to work if we want to receive them.
Nobody owes you anything, guys, but you do deserve these referrals, but you got to go out there and earn it. And first and foremost, round of applause for Stacy. All right, and if we want to work closely with you, obviously, go buy the books. But if there's someone here that wants to work closely with you, do you have that program as well? Like if it's a one-on-one coaching, one-to-many coaching, do you do that?
Yeah, so I work with clients 3 different ways. We have our coaching program. It's called Building a Referable Business. It's like the online / group / one-on-one opportunity. It's called BRB, Building a Referable Business Coaching Program. It's for a year. But we also have a done-for-you options called our VIP experience. And then we also have the Referral Accelerator, where you can come to Charlotte and spend 2 days with me. And I'll teach you everything in those 2 days, and we'll put things in place.
Can you put that in the link in the chat? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will tell this, John, I've been looking to take the Referral Accelerator on the road. So I don't know, maybe I should come to Vancouver and we should do one. I love Vancouver. It's been a while since I've been there. So, but yeah, we are looking to take that one on the road. It's 2 days, small group, usually less than 10 people, but we teach everything that you need to know and put it into place. So I will put the name of the programs. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'm just going to put my website in the chat. And then if you go to programs, they're all a part of a drop down.
I love that.
But the Referral Accelerator, would that be great in Vancouver, right?
Absolutely. That's our next event, guys. All right. Well, StacyBrownRandall.com. You can find everything there, guys. And Stacy, I appreciate you coming today. We'll have an update soon. And, of course, we'll plan for that event ahead. Guys, this was great. We'll look forward to seeing you soon. And let's go get some referrals.
Thank you.
Adios. Thank you, Stacy. Bye-bye, everyone.